Good evening, everyone. It is now 6 o'clock on December 10th. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Sandwich Board of Appeals. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The Board of Appeals is comprised of 5 regular members and 1 alternate member. The Board of Appeals can have up to 4 alternate members. Any decision of this board requires a 2/3 vote. 2/3 of 5 is 4. If only 4 members vote, the vote would have to be unanimous. If 5 members vote, 1 member could dissent. This meeting is live and streamed on Sandwich Community Television's website and on local Channel 9. The meeting is being recorded and will be available on the SCTV website at www.sandwichtv.org tomorrow. The board asks that if anyone is recording this meeting, please notify me at this time. I see none. Okay. All right, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of 11:12?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our 11:12 meeting as written.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. First on the agenda is old business, but I just want to remind everyone, they were having some technical issues with the microphones. So if you're going to speak, whether it be a board member or someone at the podium, whether it be the applicant or someone from the public, please speak clearly and into the mic and make sure it's on. All right. First item of old business for tonight is number 24-15, Village Green, 76 Route 130 and 55 Pimlico Compound Road, comprehensive permit, NSG Village Green-1 LLC. Continued for the purpose of developing 144 units of affordable rental housing, including ancillary infrastructure, including a 4.8 megawatt energy system, a controlled environment agricultural building, wastewater and stormwater systems. Okay. The public hearing remains open. And bear with me, I have the same cold I had the last time we were here. We're going to have this, the first section of this meeting tonight is going to last till, in regard to this permit, is going to last till about 7 o'clock. We have another special permit for 7 o'clock on the agenda. Mr. Sean Reardon from Tetra Tech, who is our peer review engineer, did submit his letter in response to the application by the applicant, and I'm going to read it out loud just to put it on public record so it's available to people that may be watching from home. It's very lengthy, so just please be patient and bear with me. It's 11 pages. So if I lose my voice halfway through, Leanne's going to take over for me. This is again from Sean Reardon, engineer, Tetra Tech. Dear Mr. Chairman, Tetra Tech has reviewed submittal materials through the date of this letter, available on the Town of Sandwich Zoning Board of Appeals file sharing webpage for the Village Green Comprehensive Permit submittals. The following provides comments generated during our review and generally focuses on substantive concerns that speak to issues whose eventual resolution may substantially impact product design or could otherwise result in potentially unsafe conditions or unanticipated impacts. The comments below are intended to guide discussion as well as inform development of the revised plans, and we expect to provide more detailed comments as the design and discussion advances. The plans and accompanying materials were reviewed for good engineering practice, overall site plan efficiency, stormwater, utilities, traffic, and public safety. In general, the plans and the supporting materials were thoughtfully prepared, and we appreciate the clarity and completeness of the documents provided. However, although a great deal of miscellaneous information has been submitted related to wastewater treatment, no specific factual information has been provided demonstrating how the project anticipates meeting stringent and prescriptive groundwater discharge permitting requirements. Our concern is the project has substantially underestimated the space needed to construct and maintain a treatment and disposal system, and has left how the proposed commercial portions of the project, solar and agricultural, fit within the context of the comprehensive permit process and related requirements, as clearly those options of the development are unrelated to providing affordable housing and have not been included in some of the project documentation, most notably the traffic study. Nonetheless, we have provided comments on those project components. Our comments are provided below and are generally organized by submittal. First section is plan of the land. Number 1, this plan shows the proposed A&R, approval not required, consolidation/division of 3 parcels, parcels 11-241, 11-267, and 11-271, into proposed Lot 3, 9.44 acres, and Lot 4, 9 acres. Proposed Lot 3 combining with existing Lot 1, parcel 12-317, compromises the 33.36 acre comprehensive permit subject property. For the purposes of this review, we are considering the proposed A&R plan as approved as reflected on the comprehensive permit site plans. Site plans is the next section. Existing conditions plans. The plans reference lot boundaries and parcel geometry indicated on the A&R plans referenced above. We agree with the approach as it makes the site plans clearer and more easily understood. However, if changes to the A&R plan are required, the site plans must be amended accordingly. Number 3, excuse me. If plan revisions are required, we recommend removing the sheet match lines, as the key plan adequately describes the sheet layout and the match lines may obscure or otherwise be confused with the plan content. Similarly, reposition property line bearing labels so that they don't conflict with zoning district callouts on the top of sheet C2.2. Number 4. No demolition information is provided. It would be helpful if limits of tree clearing and other related demolition, including proposed street saw cuts, information could be shown on the existing conditions plan to better understand the limit of work and the anticipated methods for preventing off-site mitigation or tracking of exposed soils. Next section, site layout plan, sheet C3- or C-3.1. Number 5. Townhouse number 1 is only 42 inches from the project boundary. While we understand the adjacent parcel is part of the subdivision, it is not identified as part of the subject parcel. In our opinion, 42 inches does not provide adequate space to construct or maintain the unit without trespass, and there appears to be space available east of townhouse number 4 that would allow the units to shift, thereby increasing the setback at townhouse number 1. Number 6. Although we don't expect site distance to be an issue, we recommend site distance triangles be shown on the site layout plan to ensure project-related installations such as signs and landscaping don't obstruct sight lines and that required sight lines do not cross abutting parcels. Number 7. No recreation or similar outdoor amenity spaces provided within the development despite there being over 140 units, and we identified no convenient public space in the immediate vicinity that could serve as a substitute. We recommend the board request the applicant to include an amenity space suited to its anticipated owners. Number 8, the proposed dumpster locations are immediately adjacent to the abutting lot line. We recommend the dumpsters located in the southeast corner be relocated since they currently sit well above the adjacent property and at the top of a wall in which trash would likely fall. Suggest relocating them to the enclosure proposed at the other end of the parking lot, which is located on the low side of a proposed wall, which will better control fugitive trash and debris. Number 9, no fences are shown other than the fence required to enclose the solar array. At a minimum, a safety fence should be provided adjacent to any wall taller than 30 inches or as otherwise required by the building code. Additionally, opaque screening fence may be warranted where the project abuts residential property. Number 10, please explain the intent behind the curb cuts proposed at STA 3 + 00 and STA 7 + 50. Number 11, a total of 5 light poles are shown on the plan serving the entire residential program and the associated parking. A note on the subsequent sheet indicates light fixtures are to be mounted at 10 to 12 feet. Based on our experience, far more fixtures will be needed to safely illuminate the space. We recommend the board requires the applicant to provide at a minimum a photometric lighting plan demonstrating safe light levels for the residential area and its associated parking. Number 12, please check the parking calculations table. The totals don't appear correct, and it's difficult to understand what is required versus what is proposed and for what facility. For example, are the EV spaces at the agricultural building intended to be available for use by residents? If not, then they should not be commingled in the table. If so, then the access gate would need to be removed and fencing for the array redesigned for compliance with safety requirements for solar energy generating facilities. Number 13, no turnaround is provided at the end of the street, and a proposed access gate is shown at the entrance to the agricultural facility that precludes utilizing that space to change direction. We recommend the board require the applicant to provide a turnaround at the end of the access road, meeting local subdivision requirements and approved by the Sandwich Fire Department. We also recommend a fire truck turning analysis to be provided to confirm the fire department's least maneuverable vehicle can navigate the development without obstruction. Number 14, the proposed fencing encloses both the agricultural facility and the solar energy generation facility. In our experience, a solar energy facility this size must be independently enclosed and cannot be co-located with another facility. Please explain how the two facilities are related and why they are located behind a single fence enclosure. Number 15, accessible spaces are to be located at the closest point to the accessible route. 2 accessible spaces on the opposite side of the drive aisle do not appear to meet the standard. No loading areas are shown. That's number 16. How will materials be delivered to and from the facility be managed, and how are delivery vehicles intended to circulate? Number 17, applicant should confirm with fire department that the 10-foot gravel access drive around the array is not required for emergency access. Otherwise, it may need to meet minimum 20-foot NFPA width requirement unless otherwise approved by the fire chief. Be advised the gravel path is the only means of vehicular access to the interior battery storage facility, and we would expect it to be accessible by fire truck. Number 18, there appears to be an inadvertent parcel label near the scale bar. Please clarify or correct in future submittals. Number 19, the proposed gravel access path only serves the detention basin and does not appear to provide adequate space for a turnaround. We recommend the applicant consider extending the path to connect with the path originating from north so that the emergency vehicles have 2 means of accessing the site. Number 20, sight lines for vehicles exiting onto Pimlico Pond Road appear to be obstructed by existing vegetation and proposed landscaping. Please show sight triangles on the plan to ensure lines of sight are free of obstructions. Number 21, all access gates should be outfitted with fire department approved security/locking measures. Next section is grading and drainage plan. Number 22, building finish floor elevations appear to be several feet above grade with no accessible route indicated from the accessible spaces provided. Please clarify which buildings, if any, require an accessible route, and if so, show the ramps required. The proposed density leaves little room for accommodating unforeseen walkways or ramps. Number 23, please label any existing structures used to serve the proposed development with rim and invert information so they can be clearly identified. Also indicate pipe size and material for existing pipes to remain. Number 24, the wall in the southeast corner retains more than 6 feet of grade on the abutting property, yet does not appear to provide enough offset to install the modular block wall and reinforced backfill without trespass. Please show required soil reinforcement zone on the plan with proposed bottom of the excavation to confirm adequate space exists to install the wall, or provide documentation of a construction grading easement from the abutting landowner. Given the proposed density and layout, any adjustment to the wall location may facilitate other layout changes to accommodate the program. Number 25, some drainage piping is shown going through proposed light pole bases. Please address on future submittals. Similarly, we recommend showing all subsurface utilities on the grading and drainage plan to identify conflicts or cover issues. Number 26, roof drain connection to the proposed recharge systems should be shown to confirm no commingling of roof runoff with pavement runoff requiring treatment. Number 27, it would be helpful if the project was able to provide project cut/fill volumes. 28, please note, although no test pit information was provided for subsurface infiltration system 1, the test pit information provided shows very uniform conditions that we wouldn't expect to vary substantially over the small distance between systems. Number 29. The grading patterns at the agricultural building suggest runoff from the parking lot, and presumably the building roof will flow directly from the paved surface to a steep slope, and no collection or treatment features are shown. Please describe the strategy for managing runoff with the agricultural facility and how the steep slopes will be protected from erosion, including at a minimum calculation of runoff rates for all design storms. Number 30, provide anticipated building finished floor elevation. Number 31, like comment 24, the wall of the agricultural facility does not appear to provide enough space to construct a wall that retains more than 6 feet of soil on the abutting parcel without trespass into that parcel. Number 32, proposed grading adjacent to the grass swale is incomplete. The 118 contour is shown traversing several higher contours without adjustment. Please address on future submittals. Number 33, the solar panel layout appears to consider the site grading, but it's unclear what panel system is proposed. Please clarify if a fixed tilt or tracker system is proposed. If tracker system, then confirm panel layout shown can accommodate existing site grades or otherwise indicate surface contouring required. Next section, utility plan, number 34. The plan shows an electrical equipment pad directly on the property line. Presumably, the pad is for interconnection equipment typically mounted on poles. Please confirm if the electrical systems connecting the solar facility to the electrical grid can be co-located with electrical and communications infrastructure serving the other uses. If separate infrastructure is required, please show it on the plan along with any easements that would be needed to retain property rights across parcels. Number 35, the point of interconnection is labeled twice. Please remove redundant label on future submittals. Number 36, no profile or invert information is shown for the proposed sewer line serving the development, nor are any pump stations shown. By our estimation, the sewer will be over 20 feet deep if conveyed by gravity from Building 1 to the end-of-line manhole outside the agricultural facility. The project has not adequately demonstrated a viable means of conveying, treating, and disposing of wastewater generated or in what quantities. We recommend the board require the applicant to demonstrate a viable wastewater disposal strategy, including at a minimum, 1, a clear estimation of project design flows, 2, adequate subsurface testings to support siting of a disposal system, 3, conceptual layout of required tanks and/or treatment system demonstrating the space provided is adequate to meet the installation and maintenance need of such a facility, and 4, baseline and projective groundwater elevation and chemistry on which the board can conclude that the project can safely dispose of all wastewater generated within the space allocated. We do not recommend the board issue a decision without clear documentation of how the project's wastewater will be managed. Currently, no space has been allocated to a treatment system that is presumed to be required for a facility generating over 20,000 gallons a day of wastewater, including a potential industrial discharge from the agricultural facility. Number 37. The proposed access off Pimlico Pond Road impacts an existing hydrant, but no relocation is noted. Applicants should be required to show the removal and relocation of the hydrant on the plan. Given the hydrant will be relocated, a replacement benchmark should be provided as well. 38, a proposed connection extends through the midfield battery storage system to a connection at an existing utility pole on Pimlico Pond Road, but no interconnect systems are shown. Please clarify the purpose of this connection and show any related above-ground infrastructure required for its use. We would normally expect to see at least 6 poles with mounted electrical equipment at such a connection. The poles will be very noticeable to travelers on Pimlico Pond Road and should be accurately portrayed on the project submittals. I think I'm going to defer to you.
Number 39, the landscape provided very little detail and even less clear design intent. The plan does not show any amenity, common space, or identified prioritized address site impacts on abutting residential property, nor does it indicate which species or size are to be used at particular locations. We typically see more thoughtful landscape designs than what has been provided, and we recommend the board request the applicant to engage a landscape design professional to develop and provide a landscaping amenity plan that addresses the needs of future residents, mitigates impact on abutting property, and maximizes the return on limited space available. Stormwater report, number 40. The stormwater report mentions the development will have a total of 442 parking spaces, but we are unclear as to where that total comes from, since the spaces shown on the plan and listed prior to the total do not add up to 442. Please clarify if 442 is a typographical error carried forward to the report, or if additional spaces were not shown on the plan are included. 41. We found no issues with the stormwater modeling used to calculate pre- and post-development peak runoff rates. Please note the model is based on the current design, and any changes to facilitate layout or surface treatment would necessitate changes to the stormwater analysis. However, we expect a stormwater system complying with Massachusetts stormwater standards can be designed for the facility. Given the plan submitted as part of a comprehensive permit or preliminary plans, we recommend that any decision approving the project, including a condition requiring the project to document compliance with Massachusetts stormwater standards per the requirements of the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook prior to receiving a building permit. 42. Please be advised, the project may be considered a LUHPPL if it generates more than 1,000 vehicle trips. Although the TIAS does not provide a total for projected daily trips, we expect a 146-unit residential project would generate nearly 1,000 average daily trips. When combined with the unaccounted trips to and from the agricultural facility, we expect the project will exceed the 1,000 trip LUHPPL threshold. Projects generating more than 1,000 vehicle trips qualify as a LUHPPL as described under Standard 5 of the Stormwater Standards. Because LUHPPLs present a higher risk of pollution, the stormwater standards require runoff generated from paved areas of a LUHPPL be treated in particular ways to address the potential risk of conveying pollutants to the environment, and particularly to groundwater, including allowing only a limited range of specific practices that can be used to meet 1, pre-treatment, 2, treatment, and 3, recharge requirements. The narrow range of acceptable breast management practices, BMPs, are clearly listed under each of the required measurements, pre-treatment, treatment, infiltration, in the table LUHPPL Standard 5 included in the handbook. While the project appears to meet 1, the 44% pretreatment, and 3, the infiltration requirements with acceptable BMPs, it does not meet its required water quality treatment volume using an improved BMP from the LUHPPL table. Specifically, the project utilizes subsurface structures to meet its water quality volume treatment burden when those structures are only allowed to be used to meet its required recharge volume. To comply with Standards 5, the project must provide its water quality treatment using a measure list from the category, which includes mostly vegetated, at-grade stormwater management systems. While the subsurface structures could still be used to infiltrate the required recharge volume, a different system could be employed to ensure water quality volumes are adequately treated prior to being discharged. The allowed treatment measures all incorporate an advanced filtration compound that bind or otherwise remove potentially harmful contaminants before they can enter the groundwater. We request a response from the project civil engineer addressing the applicability of Standard 5 given the apparent traffic volumes. 43. The TSS removal calculation worksheet for the infiltration basin includes a stone diaphragm, but we didn't see one shown on the plans. Please clarify where the stone diaphragm is used. 44, the stormwater report does not include a stormwater checklist or an illicit discharge compliance statement as required by stormwater standards. These documents should be provided with the final stormwater report prepared in accordance with the final plans as submitted with the building permit application. 45, the project will disturb more than an acre with runoff potentially discharging from the site, thereby requiring coverage under a NIFTY's construction general permit. We recommend a note requiring compliance with NIFTY's permit construction and associated stormwater pollution prevention plan be addressed to the plans, and that proof of coverage be provided to the board before commencing any land clearing activities. Water supply. 46, the project will obtain for its domestic and fire suppression needs from a 12-inch PVC connection to an existing 12-inch main on the project side of Falmouth Road, Route 130. While we have no significant concerns regarding the proposed connection, we recommend the applicant conduct a fire flow test at an existing hydrant near the project to document current capacity conditions. As mentioned earlier, we recommend that the project extend the water main from Building 5 to provide a looped main to the residential buildings and consider extending the water main through to Pimlico Palm Road. 48, if the project does not agree to extend the water main through to Pimlico Pond Road, we recommend any decision approving the project include a condition requiring an analysis of fire flow conditions on all dead-end water main demonstrating adequate residual pressure will be maintained to all residential units under fire demand conditions. Wastewater disposal, 49. We reviewed materials provided by the applicant related to wastewater disposal and found no documentation clearly describing how the wastewater will be treated and disposed on the site. In our opinion, it would be premature for the board to consider approving an application before the applicant has adequately demonstrated a viable wastewater disposal strategy exit for the project as described in the application and shown on the plans. At a minimum, the applicant should provide a wastewater treatment and disposal summary clearly describing the demands, applicable regulatory standards, and required infrastructure systems controls needed to treat and dispose of the wastewater generated, and showing the footprint of all required elements within the space available on site. In addition, a description of how any facilities will be operated and maintained should be provided so the board understands how obligations and responsibilities will be distributed among the project components. 50. We reviewed the proposed wastewater conditions and waivers submitted by the applicant, which suggests waiving all local requirements and simply deferring to required regulatory approvals in lieu of any further review by the board, and consider that approach unreasonable given these regulatory processes only partly address the range of concerns the board is charged with to consider under the comprehensive permit and the potential for substantive changes to the plans if the strategy isn't viable given the limited space allocated to treatment and disposal. 51, wastewater disposal regulations require designation of a reserve area sufficient to replace the primary soil absorption system. No such area is shown on the plans, and most of the other areas of the site are dedicated to elements of the development program. Traffic. 52. There are building program discrepancies among the comprehensive permit application, site plans, and the TISA that require clarification. Residential application states 144 units, site plans and TSA show 146. Renewable energy application states a 4.8 megawatt renewable energy system with a battery energy storage system. Site plan shows facility. TISA does not reference renewable energy. CEA application states a one-story controlled environment agricultural is proposed. Site plans show CEA. TISA does not reference a CEA facility or its associated traffic generation. Parking. Application states a total of 442 parking spaces, but individually calls out 215 space surface lot, 35 space parking garage, 16 townhouse parking spaces, and 54 parking spaces at the CEA building, which would only total 320 spaces. Site plan has the same discrepancy, showing total of 442 spaces, but the individual summation is 320 spaces. TIAS does not reference parking. 53, the applicant should describe the anticipated operations for the CEA facility. The comprehensive permit application states that 54 parking spaces are proposed at the facility, indicating that the facility will generate traffic. If so, the TISA should be revised to include the CEA-generated traffic in the project's trip generation and capacity analyses. 54, the applicant should clarify if the anticipated operations and maintenance, O&M, phase for the renewable energy components of the project will be monitored via an off-site facility to confirm the O&M trip generation will be negligible on typical weekday once constructed. 55, typically a renewable energy facility's greatest traffic-related impacts occur during the construction. I'm just going to allow Sean in. During the construction phase. Tetra Tech recommends that the applicant describe the anticipated construction operations information and potential traffic-related impacts associated with the peak construction activities of the project's renewable energy component. 56, the TIAS is based on the traffic count data collected during the summer, August 2024, to represent peak traffic volume conditions, which is consistent with the Cape Cod Commission's traffic study guidelines. Cape Cod Commission seasonal adjustment factors were applied to estimate average month traffic volumes to also conduct an average season analysis consistent with Mass DOT TIA guidelines. The TIAS referenced planned improvements to the Route 130 Snake Pond Road, Pimlico Pond Road intersections as part of the nearby Island Pickle project in Mashpee. However, the description of the improvements in the TISA outlined recommendations from VHB and the proponent. Tetra Tech recommends that the applicant clarify the entity that they are referring to as the proponent in the description, Island Pickle or Village Green, for these improvements. The TISA states that the applicant commits to implementing improvements at this location should they not be implemented by Island Pickle. The applicant should confirm the current status of the Island Pickle development project and associated mitigation. The Village Green TISA indicates that the location experiences an above-average crash rate, indicating potential safety deficiencies, and therefore the applicant should confirm if these improvements are committed to being implemented by others prior to Village Green's completion. 58, the TISA includes a crash analysis of the study area intersections for the latest available data from Mass DOT Crash Portal, which reports crashes throughout the year 2021. Tetra Tech is aware of at least 2 fatal crashes occurring within the study area roadways since 2021. One fatal crash occurred on Route 130 in the vicinity of Dogwood Drive in October of 23. Another fatal crash occurred at the Route 130 Cotuit Road intersection in June of 2022. Tetra Tech recommends that the applicant obtain crash reports from the Sandwich Police Department for the study area roadways and intersections for the years not yet available for Mass DOT 22, 23, and 24 to determine if there are additional safety improvements that may be warranted. The TISAs indicate that the Route 130 Cotuit Road intersection experiences an above-average crash rate indicating potential safety deficiencies. Tetra Tech recommends that the applicant explore the feasibility of implementing safety improvements at this location as part of the project. 60, the trip generation estimates reported in the TISAs are limited to the weekday morning and weekday evening peak hours. Tetra Tech recommends that the applicant provide the estimated weekday daily trip generation for the project to the town to understand the anticipated daily traffic increases on the study area roadways. 61, Tetra Tech recommends that the applicant conduct an auxiliary lane warrants analysis at the proposed side access intersection with Route 130 to determine if dedicated turning lanes are warranted entering and exiting the site. 62, the TISAs did not include an evaluation of stopping site distance, SSD, and intersection site distance, ISD, at the proposed site access way intersections. Tetra Tech recommends that the applicant prepare site distance plans and profiles for stopping distances and intersection site distance in the plan set at the proposed site access intersections with Route 130, Pimlico Pond Road, serving the renewable energy facility, and proposed internal intersections to confirm that adequate site distance will be provided. The evaluation should be based on procedures outlined in the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, a policy on geometric design of highways and streets, 7th edition, 2018. Any proposed landscaping, fences, walls, or signs in the vicinity of the site access way intersections be kept low to the ground, less than 2 feet above the street level, or set back outside the site triangles, as defined by AAS-HTO, to ensure that safe stopping site distances and intersection site distances will be met. 64, the site plans show two proposed curb cuts along the proposed site access way, one located to the west of Townhouse Number 1 and one to the east of Townhouse Number 4. However, the plans do not show what these curb cuts will serve. The applicant should clarify the anticipated or potential uses of these 2 curb cuts. 65, Tetra Tech recommends that any proposed traffic signage and pavement markings be compliant with the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. 66, Tetra Tech recommends that the applicant conduct an auto-turn analysis of the largest emergency apparatus operated by the town and review with the Sandwich Fire Department to ensure safe and efficient emergency mobility in and around the site. Tetra Tech recommends that the applicant explore the feasibility of providing 2 points of emergency access for the entire site. Environmental conditions. 67, based on our review of project submittals, available online mapping resources, and aerial photography, it does not appear that the project has potential to impact wetland resources, as no protected resource areas or associated buffer zones extend onto the subject property. 68, despite being surrounded by Zone 2 wellhead protection zones, the project is not located within a Zone 2. A mass map or screenshot showing the sites in relation to the surrounding wellhead protection zones is attached. The site is located among several impaired water bodies which are subject to the total maximum daily loads, TMDLs, typically due to impairment from nitrogen. A figure showing the project in relation to those water bodies is also attached. This site placement suggests the board should at least consider the project's potential to contribute pollutant to groundwater or nearby impaired surface waters. This would necessarily include consideration of the size, location, and discharge limits of the wastewater treatment system and disposal area, as well as the project's LUHPPL status. We recommend the board request the applicant and his design team to address the project's potential to degrade surface and/or groundwater quality via its wastewater and/or storm water discharges. I recommend the board require the applicant to provide written responses to each of the comments provided above, and we will track each comment to closure. Please be advised we may have additional comments as our review continues. Any additional comments will be added to the list and tracked similarly. And then just if you have any questions, Sean's information. Sean did just join us via Zoom.
Okay, so thank you very much for your help, Leanne. Now, since Sean is on the line, you want to open it up to him with any, so if any of the members of the board or town council have any questions for Sean, he is on Zoom right now. Welcome to please ask him any questions or comments based on what we just read. Okay.
Can I just confirm, this is Sean, can I just confirm that you guys can hear me?
Yes, Sean, we can hear you.
All right, I'm driving back from a hearing in New York, ironically for a solar project, so I may come in and out of service, but I'll do what I can.
Okay, not a problem, but thank you for joining us. There is an attorney representing the public I'd like to just get on as time goes on here. So I'm going to open it up to the public for comments since the board didn't have any. If you are going to speak, please come up and, as I said before, just speak into the microphone so that everybody can clearly hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Dennis Murphy from Hill Law on behalf of the Peters Pond abutters. I wanted to make a few points about what I see as the state of the application in front of you. It's notable for the number of omissions at this stage of the proceeding. There's no wastewater plan. If it's going to be a sewer, you're going to need a pump station. If it's going to be a wastewater treatment facility, there's no space for a reserve area. Those are major infrastructure issues that are ordinarily resolved by this point in the public hearing process, where you just have 2 months left before you have to act on this application. There haven't been test pits, and as Mr. Reardon's good work shows, the receiving waters from any wastewater discharge are subject to a TMDL, total maximum daily load. That's my client's neighborhood near Peters Pond. And so this is not just a small issue, that it requires some serious engineering to resolve. I've made this comment once before, I'll say it again because it was not in Mr. Reardon's report. This is a commercial scale solar that goes beyond this simple project, providing power for the project. In my legal opinion, it requires a DRI from the Cape Cod Commission, and that may be already have been decided that you can't be permitting a solar facility of this type as part of a 40B, but I wanted to reiterate that comment. My third comment has to do with the stormwater. If Mr. Reardon is right, and this is what's called a LUPL, a higher pollutant load based on the number of trips, that is a major design point for how you engineer the stormwater system, not an insignificant detail. That is something we really ought to know by this point in the project. If it is a LUPL under Standard 5, there are lots and lots of things that will have to be done to accommodate the stormwater design. I could go on just to name a few. There's no play area. There's no lighting plan. There's no tree clearing plan, no cuts fills analysis. The parking calculations are wildly divergent. It's either 442 or 320. I do a lot of this 40B work, as does your town council, and I feel like I've been in this room for a couple of years now. I would have thought the project would be further along, and I wanted to concur with what Mr. Reardon's report ends with, which is based on the information that you have before you right now, there really isn't sufficient data and information that you can actually approve this permit.
That is correct. That's why we will be asking the applicant for his responses, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
You're very welcome. Anyone else like to speak to this special permit this evening? Okay.
Quick comment.
Okay, yes, sir. Just state your name, please.
I'm Ethan Schaff. And I live along Peters Pond, so I'm close to this project physically. And there was just one point as you were reading the peer review. It's number 67. I'd like to get you to focus on number 67. It says, based on our review of project submittals, available online mapping resources and aerial photography, it does not appear that the project has the potential to impact wetland resources, as no protected resource areas or associated buffer zones extend onto the subject property. This project abuts Peters Pond, goes right to the shore. Have they missed something? That's my only question. Have they missed something? Because it seems to me that if they reviewed it, they'd know right away. This project goes right to the shore of Peters Pond. There are 3 residential lots. They're reserved for residential lots, but I find this it's a good peer review. I agree with Attorney Murphy. I think Tetra is frustrated. They're frustrated as heck that the project hasn't moved further along. But I was worried about what Tetra knows and what Tetra doesn't know, because I think it absolutely impacts a protected resource area. Thanks.
You're welcome. We'll have Sean take another look at that. All right. Is the applicant here still? I don't... Mr. Cleary, could you please up to the microphone? And I know you were in receipt of that Tetra Tech's report last week when we sent it out to everybody, correct?
Yes, we received it on Thursday, and as early as Friday, we started meeting with our experts, with our engineers, and, you know, I guess I start at the end where Sean is recommending the board requires the applicant to provide written responses to each of the comments.
Right.
I'd be suggesting that your expert, Sean, be available to work with our experts, our engineers, as they start to
Perfect.
respond to these comments, and we narrow the issues that Attorney Murphy, you know, is suggesting that are still out there. Yeah.
I'm sure Sean will be talking to your Ms. Keller to just move this along as quick as possible. When do you think, time-wise, you're going to be able to have a written response to every one of these points before we can move forward?
So I brought that up on Friday in that discussion and emphasized that this is all I want them focused on. So I told them after tonight's meeting, I would contact them tomorrow to get that schedule. But I would say that between today and the next date on your calendar, I'm sure that they will have responses to these conditions, you know, to these points.
That's
That is January 14th.
January 14th.
Yeah, so our goal has always been to try to supply the board with information 2 weeks prior to your meeting, so you have enough time and everybody has enough time to sift through our information. So I don't know if we'll be able to be 2 weeks before that date,
Right.
but then I think we'd have 2 weeks to your next meeting to then
So
you know,
what's the
discuss.
end of January?
January 28th.
January 28th, would that work for you?
That sounds great to us, yeah.
Okay, so you'll agree to that.
Yeah.
Amy, am I missing anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Amy Questle, Town Council. I am just confused. Are we continuing this to January 28th? Not January 14th, right?
No,
Correct.
no.
January, that's not enough time. So January 28th is...
January 28th, according to what the applicant says, that he
Okay,
should be able to
okay.
get everything to Sean in writing.
So January 28th is fine. The 180 days expires on February 10th. So It can.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that is that the 180 days expires in January 5th, and we're on extension. So as we move through this, we'll work with the board and everybody on adequate times and dates for for the work.
It's already been extended to February 10th.
That's what, yes, correct, yeah.
Do we want to see if we could get it extended farther than that?
We will definitely need more than,
That'll be something we'd vote on at the next meeting.
yep, you can.
Okay.
On the 28th. we
Okay.
can discuss continuing that, or extending that and continuing the meeting.
If I may.
Sure.
Would the applicant, through the chair, be amenable to adding to that tonight? My only fear with January is the 28th is so close to the 10th. What happens if we have a snowstorm?
Snowstorm or what?
Weather event? I mean, even if we just push 30 days onto the February 10th date, just so we have some leeway, God forbid, there was an active nature.
Correct,
we couldn't
yeah.
hold the meeting.
I don't see any problem with that.
Okay, so 30 days would bring us up to March 12th
Yeah.
Okay, so March 12th is agreed.
for extension. Okay.
All right. No further comments, or Mary, do you have a comment?
Just, did we make that, did we extend that? Or are we still going to wait? Did we, what was,
We need to
I couldn't
motion.
hear what the resolution was.
Sure, the applicant was amenable to extend by 30 days, which would have the end of the 180 days be March 12th.
Okay. Do we have to vote on that? Or-
Yes.
Okay,
When you continue it.
Yeah, I'm going
Okay.
to do that right now.
okay.
So, no other further
I do
comments
have a
from
quick-
anyone?
I do have
Go
a
ahead,
quick
Kevin,
comment.
please.
I'd recommend that you, and I'm assuming that you have it, but I'd recommend that you also take a look at the August 6th, 2024 comments from the Cape Cod Commission, even though
Yeah, yes,
even
we've
though
been-
the project itself
Yes,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
is not currently the subject matter of review by the Cape Cod Commission.
Yeah.
I think they make some comments in here relative to building design and site design that I think you should consider, because I think those are something that the board may want to have some input on. I'd hate to see you go through all the trouble of commenting on these engineering comments and then come back and find out that we may have issues with the design in terms of location of buildings and no open space criteria, no amenities, things of that nature. So you may want to look at that.
I agree with, and we have been working with both the staff comments and outside comments. So thank you.
I have one more question.
Go ahead, Mary.
Are we looking for comments, or are we looking for amendments to the plan?
It's a combination of, it's kind of a combination of both.
If I may.
Yes, please, Amy.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, it's going to be some of the answers or to the responses to the comments will be changes to the plan.
Right.
However, what we are looking for is a document, which is a document that has all of Sean's 60-something
Right.
comments with their responses, even if their responses say, plan revised, see sheet X, Y, Z. And then Sean will then take those responses, and he will then address those responses. So we have we have a continuous document that keeps going until all comments are addressed.
Because it seems like some of these items couldn't possibly be resolved in the next 30 days.
So-
You know? And so
Yeah.
they may say, we will work with so-and-so to do this. Is that a sufficient answer? Is that a sufficient comment?
So
to
that
this
comment will
document?
remain, but it will not get, the way that Sean does it is he grays them out. So once
Okay.
they're resolved, they're grayed out.
Okay.
That comment will not be grayed out until it is
resolved.
actually resolved.
And
Any plan changes, if Mr. Cleary, if he can get the plans, 2 weeks ahead of time, I think that should be sufficient to take a look. But if there's significant plan changes, Sean might need more time.
Okay.
And then typically, some of the, say, permits that are then obtained at a state agency or a federal agency, like they talked about the stormwater, that's a Fed permit, that's usually put in as a condition of whatever vote you ultimately take on the project. So you don't just, you don't resolve all of these here, because some of the work is studied by other entities and other agencies.
Right.
However, just to be clear, with regard to wastewater, Sean, I think, made it very clear in his comments that we definitely need more information with regard to wastewater.
Yes.
And I think, given the neighborhood concern over impact on surface waters, that be addressed too and not deferred to some other authority.
Well, again, the law is the law on where like, we can all agree on something locally. Some of these permits you have to get from the feds or the state. So working together to then go to, say, Mass DP, that's the goal. So we need to get you updated information and plan on that wastewater issue, and then collectively, we would be going to Mass DEP, because we can't issue a wastewater permit. So that, I'm not looking to explain a technicality, I'm just saying that we're trying to get on the same page of what needs to be locally reviewed, knowing that no matter what we decide on, it still has to go to DEP.
It would still be information that we would want to review in order for us to make a determination as to whether or not we think the project
Correct.
could be approved.
Correct, yeah.
Conditioned then upon the ultimate.
That it comes back. Building permit is conditioned that it comes back, correct, yeah,
We would still have to evaluate all the information that you would be submitting to those authorities.
correct, yeah.
Sean or Judy, do you, either of you have any comments or questions? Say no. All right. That being the case, any other comments? Brendan, do you have anything? Okay. That being said, I'll take a motion to continue this public hearing to January 28th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Sandhills School Community Center, Sandwich, Mass., and allow for an extension of time to March 12th, 2025. So somebody give me a motion?
So move.
Well, I think Sandhills going to be plenty of room.
We will have to do it at Sand Hill. Finance starts to meet here. We're going to be moved.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Chair, just point of clarification, did you say January 20th?
January 28th.
28th, thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Have a great holiday, thank you.
You as well, take care. All right, the
Night,
special...
everybody.
Pardon me?
Sean?
Sean was just saying goodbye.
Oh, okay. Thank you, guys. The next special permit, we can't start before 7 p.m., so everybody can take a breather. Oh, pardon me?
Is it open?
It's still open. Yep.
Hi. Joe Silva from 30P Avenue.
Right, but I think we just continued it, and I don't think we can take any more comment, correct? Okay.
You continued it.
Unless you want to reopen it.
No, just, can you save your comment till next time? Thank you, sir.
I'll check with Chris. Chris, do you need me for the next one? Brendan says no.
Well, it's the boss. It's the boss.
No, we can't start till 7. No.
Happy holidays.
We post it on the agenda with...
Yes, no problem.
So I don't know if that should be clarified. I'm happy to address it, but, you know, my understanding was that I may not need that relief at this stage. So,
Sure, when I did the calculation for the increase in area, it was at 24% increase of nonconformity. At that point, Brendan can make a Section 6 finding related to that increase. It doesn't trigger special permit relief under the bylaw. Is that okay?
Yeah, I might have misinterpreted. The amount was just 24%.
Yes.
okay. So I think we're all on the same page on that. So the relief that I'm requesting as for tonight is under the floodplain overlay district, because it is wholly within the floodplain, and because we are going to have to bring in fill. So those are the two forms of relief that I am seeking tonight. So as the board knows, this is a raise and replace. It's in the VE zone. This house will have to go up on pilings. It will be completely flood zone compliant. It will be completely building code compliant, and it has been approved by the Conservation Commission. There is a paved driveway that's existing. That pavement is going to be removed. It will be replaced with a gravel stone driveway. So as the board knows, under the floodplain overlay district, there are 4 factors that the board needs to consider. A is the susceptibility of the proposed facility and the contents to flood damage and the effect of such damage upon the site and surrounding property. So by going from a non-flood zone compliant house to a house that is elevated on pilings, we have greatly reduced the susceptibility of the home to flood damage, and so that's always a positive. When the VE zones, we have to put them on pilings. So in that case, we're creating a better situation than what exists, because the current house is not flood zone compliant. It's on a concrete foundation, no flood vents, nothing, not on pilings. So I think that we meet the criteria A there. B is the availability of alternative locations for the proposed use, which are not subject to flooding or erosion. Unfortunately, this whole lot is within the VE zone, so there's nowhere that we can site a house that would not be in the flood zone. So in this particular case, again, there's nowhere else to put it, so there's no alternative location. The necessity of the facility of a waterfront location, again, it's on the water, it's a residential use, it's always been a residential use, there's no alternative locations. And finally, the determination that the relief requested is the minimum necessary. It really is a modest increase of what exists, and again, we are eliminating the paved driveway, so we're making a lot of improvements to the project, putting it up on pilings, removing the pavement, to make this, you know, as environmentally and resource area friendly and flood zone compliant. So in that case, I would suggest to the board that, you know, we have met the criteria under the floodplain overlay district, showing that this proposed project is an improvement and does meet the criteria that this board considers, you know, when reviewing the projects in the overlay district. As far as the fill, so again, in this particular case, the Conservation Commission reviews the project. One of the conditions that they have, I think it's condition number 32, is that you have to restore the dune profile after the existing structure is taken down. So there's an existing basement that's going to be needed to be filled in to bring the dune profile to exist, you know, what exists today, or what it should be. There's no, it's a little bit of a fluid situation. I know Rick Anderson, I've talked to, estimates maybe about 200 yards, but again, what happens is when he tears down the existing building, he goes out with the conservation agent. They make a determination of how the dune profile should look. So that number could be a little bit higher, could be a little bit lower, but that's what he's estimating it's doing. And that fill is only being brought in, again, to restore the dune profile. There's no other fill being proposed that wouldn't address just that restoration of the dune profile. So with that, you know, again, I think we meet the criteria for the floodplain overlay district, given that we are putting it up on pilings. You're going to have a dune restoration. So all the things that you want to see in a flood zone, you know, we're accomplishing here. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Again, Rick Anderson is the GC. He's here to answer any questions as well. Oh, I guess I will just note, we don't have any problem with the Board of Health comments. Obviously, if it has to be deed restricted to 3-bedroom, that's fine. The floor plan may need to be adjusted with consultation with the Board of Health, you know, to open up the office so it's not considered a bedroom, but we will certainly address that.
Okay, thank you. Any member of the board have any questions? Mr. Killian?
Just one, where would you get the fill to restore the dune typically?
So it has to be all clean fill. I guess I can defer to Rick on that.
So we typically have to replace it with clean washed sand, no clay or anything like that that's in it. So it has to be compatible with the materials on the beach.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chase, anyone else?
There was, in the elevations, and maybe, Brendan, I feel like I'll put you on the spot. I think we've talked on it before, but the maximum height, I think, is 35 feet. Is that from base flood elevation or 2
No, it's
feet
from the
above?
Top of the stilts, isn't it?
It's from the required pile height. Whatever the required pile height is to meet the flood zone regulations, it's taken from that.
Is that 16 or 8? I guess where I was going, it caught my attention that the max height was 55 feet. That seems, I don't know how we got to that.
Right, because again, the way your bylaw reads, it is from, the height is measured from the top of the piling, not from the ground. So I think that's why, it looks, higher than what, you would take it if it was from like average existing grade or something of that effect.
So
I thought it was, isn't it from base flood elevation? Not necessarily the piling.
It's from the design flood elevation. So the base flood elevation makes it a VE16. The design flood elevation on the current building code puts it up to 18.
Okay.
So there's 18 feet, 2 feet of freeboard. So that's taken from the required height. Now, should you decide to put bigger pilings because you want a better view, that wouldn't count. It's taken from the required pile height, not the actual what you come up with.
And I think I'm on the same page with you, Brendan, so I guess for me, max height then becomes 53, right?
Well,
Based on 18 plus
35 feet
35.
from the required pile height, whatever that is.
So
Yeah, plus above sea level plus 18.
that was the only thing that caught my attention. It looks like, the way I was reading it, if we're all on the same page, is we're just over. I think it's a couple inches, so it's probably just minor, as long as everybody agrees that 53 is the... Is that,
Usually if it's close to the height, we require a height certification.
Again, I think Rick may be able
as
to
we're,
address that.
you guys are okay to work within that dimension, that seems...
As you had mentioned, the total allowable height is 35 feet. We are actually 27 feet. Just in the math I just did in my head, we're 27 feet above the floodplain.
All right, I think
Okay.
we're...
I know it says elevation 53, which
Yeah.
might lead you to think it's 53 feet tall, but it's above sea level.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the same 18 starting point is also based on, so.
Right.
Yeah.
It's 18 plus 35, you're at 53, and I think we're just over, right? Based on the, if you zoom in that
He's saying,
dimension.
Chase, what are you saying? He's got it at
I think it's very, very minor. I just
233.
Yeah.
want to make sure we're not exceeding allowable height, that's all. It's a very small dimension.
This is also very small writing.
Right. Just if you guys are agreeable to build within allowable maximum.
Right.
Which I think is 53, right? If I'm doing the math.
Elevation 53,
Yeah, above sea level, right?
53.3. So
Okay.
You have to reduce the height by 3 inches.
3. I can't say if that's inches
It's
or
50
tenths. It's usually tenths.
Oh, 53.
Small. It's
Yeah,
yeah. It just,
Yeah,
it's
it's-
probably just a
Probably a roof line
very
change or
small
something
detail,
like that.
right?
But I'll just say this, we will agree to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board? All right,
Mr. Chairman, I just
yes,
had a
sir.
quick question if I could. Regarding the fill, is that going in after the piles are driven or before?
Before.
Okay.
Yeah, we do it before. That way, the foundation, as I see this.
can you please use the microphone, sir, Mr. Anderson?
It's a full foundation, but it's, I'm going to say roughly 4 feet in grade. So once we pull the foundation out, in order to have a flat work surface for the equipment to put the piles in, we'll want to fill it in advance.
So if I could just, So if there's about 8 feet of fill going in, will the piles be driven significantly deeper than that, obviously?
Oh, yeah. I mean, to refusal is what they do. So I think we'll be using basically 30-foot piles. We ended up cutting off 4 feet, 5 feet.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So to Chase's point, I may suggest the board may want to condition it on a revised elevation that Brendan approves to make sure that it's within allowable height. And then, usually when it's close, you do require an elevation certificate.
Right, a height certification.
Right.
Okay, fine with me.
Thanks.
All right. We have no members of the public here to make any comment. So I'll make a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
All right. Move on to, no real board discussion, but there was in your packet was the 2025 meeting schedule. Just make sure you fish that out. And we'll move on to deliberations, number 24-23, 365 Phillips Road, special permit, O'Rafferty.
Procedural history, this is the application from sections 1330, and we're going to strike 2420, correct?
Right.
4230 and 4250, section 2 of the zoning bylaw for property located at 365 Phillips Road, which was filed on November 19th, 2024. After proper notice was given, the public hearing was opened on December 10th and closed on December 10th, 2024. The application was accompanied by a plan entitled Site Plan of 365 Phillips Road, Sandwich, Massachusetts, prepared for R.W. Anderson & Sons, Inc., dated October 4, 2024, revised October 15th, 2024, and revised on October 30th, 2024. The board reviewed the application, all other materials submitted. Prior to the close of the public hearing, the board received and gave due consideration to the testimony given at the public hearing. The following members attended: Neven, Terrio, Killian, and Foley. Findings. Board finds that the application meets the requirements of Section 9, Mass General Law, Chapter 40A. Subject property is located within the R1 zoning district and the floodplain overlay district. The property consists of 10,454 square feet with 0 feet of frontage. The lot is in a VE zone with an elevation of 16 feet. The applicant wishes to construct a new dwelling. The proposed dwelling does not increase the non-conforming nature of the structure by more than 30%. The current footprint including decks, steps, and driveway, is 2,744 square feet, and the proposed is 3,114 square feet, increasing the non-conforming nature by 24.4%, and therefore does not trigger special permit review. The proposed non-conforming structure is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming structure. Section 1330 requirements. The Board of Appeals does not find that there are conditions peculiar to this case, but not generally true for similar permitted uses on other sites in the same district. The board finds that nuisance, hazard, or congestion will not be created. The board finds that there will not be substantial harm to the neighborhood. The board finds that there is no derogation from the intent of the bylaw, such that the bylaw's district's objective will be satisfied. Section 4352 requirements. The board finds that the susceptibility of the proposed facility and the contents to flood damage and the effect of such damage upon the site and the surrounding property is minimal. The board finds that there are not alternative locations for the proposed use which are not subject to flooding or erosion. The board finds necessity to the facility of the waterfront location. The Board of Appeals finds that the relief requested is the minimum necessary. The applicant is not proposing significant grade changes. Are there any other findings?
I don't have any.
Do you want to reference the approximate 200 yards of fill to allow for the restoration?
I mean, at the finding, we can put it in the conditions, or if you want to make it a finding, we can.
Just so they have the
Fine.
approval, right?
The applicant estimates that 200 cubic yards of fill will be required.
Fine.
Was there a condition on the height?
We haven't got to the conditions yet.
Oh, sorry.
Just fine.
I thought you
Still
just-
doing the findings.
Any other conditions?
I mean findings.
I'm sorry, findings, yeah. Get there.
No.
I think we got everything. Yeah, the removing pavement, going to gravel, I think that's material. All right, I will move the findings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, at the conditions, at the public hearing, the Board of Appeals considered potential conditions of approval for the special permit. The board voted that the conditions of approval shall be imposed upon any approval of the special permit, and that these conditions are reasonable, and that the applicant and its successor in interest shall be bound by the conditions. Failure to comply with all the conditions set forth in the decision shall terminate the grant of the special permit pursuant to the requirements of the Sandwich Protective Zoning Bylaw, Section 1330. The grant of the special permit shall expire upon transfer of ownership prior to initiation of substantial construction on or occupancy of the site, unless such a transfer is authorized in this permit, or no substantial construction or occupancy takes place within 3 years of a special permit, excluding such time required to pursue or await the determination of an appeal referred to in Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 17. Special permit shall not take effect until it's recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds, and a copy of the recorded special permit is provided to the Board of Appeals. Erosion control must be in place prior to construction and maintained throughout. Next.
Condition, the height, getting the approved height or whatever. What was it that you recommended?
Condition and elevation certificate?
Maximum height not to exceed 53
Certification,
feet.
certification of, is that, what did you call it?
Well, the maximum height would not exceed what's in zoning, and that would be confirmed with the
Confirmation,
height
that's what it
certification,
was.
which is
Height
standard
certification.
operating procedure for us.
Applicant shall submit a height certification plan. When do you want that? Prior to
Prior to final inspection.
prior to what?
Prior to final inspection.
Oh, okay. Applicant shall submit a structural height certification prior to final building inspection.
Sure.
Anything further?
Nope, not for me.
Okay, I will move the, impose the conditions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
After reviewing the application, the plan and other materials submitted, and after giving due consideration to testimony given at the public hearing, the board hereby approves the special permit application for property located at 365 Phillips Road, as shown on Assessor's Map 74, Parcel 72, for the purpose of constructing a new dwelling. I will move to approve the special permit.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night.
Have a good night. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
With no other items to discuss, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.